你好，欢迎收听随行汉语 Welcome to Takeaway Chinese. I'm Niu Niu, and this is a special edition of our show. In this episode, we're taking you to Beijing Language and Culture University, where a group of enthusiastic students from the UK are exploring the world of Mandarin through a unique summer camp experience. My colleague Ma Jing visited the campus and caught up with Beth Fleming, one of the teachers accompanying the group. Beth has spent years learning and teaching Chinese back in the UK, and she brings a fascinating perspective on the joys and hurdles of studying the language, especially in a British classroom setting. She's also traveled extensively across China, and in this episode, she shares her thoughts on the culture, the people, and what has left the deepest impression on her. Whether you're on your own Chinese learning journey or just curious about how international students connect with the language and culture, we hope this episode can offer some fresh insights and inspiration.
Hello, I'm Ma Jing. Today I'm meeting a special guest from the UK, Beth Fleming.
Hello, 你好. My name is Beth. I'm a Chinese teacher from the UK. I work at a school called Macmillan Academy in the north of England. I've been learning Chinese for 12 years. And I'm still learning. And I've been teaching Chinese in England for 5 years now. This is my 5th year.
So this is not your first time in China, right?
No, it's my 5th time in China, I think. Yeah.
5th time?
I think so, yeah.
So which city have you been to?
Lots. Obviously Beijing. I used to live in Hangzhou. I studied for 1 year at Zheda. I've also lived in Weifang because I worked there for 1 year teaching English at a primary school. And then traveling and as a tourist, I've been to Xi'an, Chengdu, Zhengjiajie, Harbin, lots of places, Nanjing, Suzhou, lots of places.
Wow.
Hong Kong, yeah, Shanghai. Yeah.
Wow, you've been to more places than I did.
Yeah.
So which place do you like best?
Oh, I love Xi'an. Yeah, and I love Bing Maiyong. It just fascinates me, the whole history behind it and how huge it is. I also really love Chengdu. I think the first Chinese friend that I made is from Chengdu, so it's got like a special place in my heart.
Can you eat spicy food?
Yes, I do like spicy food. But some of it was a little bit too spicy when I was there, but I do like spicy food.
So you have a Chinese name. How do you get that?
So the first ever time I came to China was 2014, when I was 19 years old. And my first ever Chinese teacher in China was called Li Laoshi. And she, at the beginning of the trip, said, right, I'm going to give you all Chinese names. And I'd never been given one before, so I was quite excited. But it took her, she said, I want to get to know you all first before I give you your Chinese names. So it took her a few days. But then she gave me mine. So my second name in English is Fleming. So she gave me Fu, from Shifu, which means master.
Yes.
So she chose that Fu for my second name. And then my name is Bethany. So she gave me Sunny as my Chinese name. And it's like 思想的思.
Yeah.
Because she said I was always thinking and quite thoughtful. So she gave me 思, and then Ni just it sounds like my English name, so she put that on there as well.
And it's usually for girls.
But usually for girls, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So that's where that comes from.
Could you share one thing you really enjoy about being in China?
So much. If I could only choose one thing, what would it be? I don't know. I love Chinese people. I love interacting with Chinese people because I think when I first moved to China, I felt like sometimes people felt a little bit abrupt. Like you go to a Chinese shop and you put what you want on the counter and they just say the price and then buy. Whereas like in England, they'd say, oh, is this everything? Like, well, sometimes they say that in China, to be fair, but they'd say, please, can you give me like this money? But Chinese people don't necessarily, they just say the price. And I suppose it's especially because I'm foreign and they maybe don't expect me to speak Chinese. So that felt really abrupt at first. But I think when you actually interact with Chinese people in Chinese. They're really open, really friendly, really generous. And I think there's a quote I always like to say when I explain this to people, but Nelson Mandela said, if you speak to someone in a language they understand, that goes to their head, but if you speak to them in their own language, that goes to their heart. And I think that's so true in any country, but especially in China when people don't expect you to be able to speak their language. It really goes a long way if you can, even just a little bit. Yeah.
I remember once Zuckerberg went to a college and he said, 大家好, and everyone is praising his Chinese is super good.
Yeah, even they just said 大家好. Yeah.
So people's comments in English, he just said hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. Even just a little bit goes a long way, I think.
Yes. What is your favorite Chinese dish?
饺子.
饺子.
They're definitely up there. But when I lived in Hangzhou, I also really enjoyed eating yuxiang qiezi all the time.
Yuxiang qiezi.
Yeah, I really like that.
Have you got any souvenirs to bring back home?
I think it would have to be Chinese tea, you know? Probably some Longjing cha from Hangzhou. Oh, well, you can buy it everywhere. But yeah, Longjing cha. I love it.
Do you think there's a big difference between Chinese tea and UK tea?
Yeah, big difference. Obviously, well, one of the main differences is in England we tend to have bags of tea, and in China it's loose leaf a lot of the time, and I prefer loose leaf tea. And I just think Chinese tea just tastes better. I can't really say why.
Okay.
And then everywhere I go, I always try and buy a magnet for me and for my granddad. And I've got a couple of magnets as well from the Great Wall yesterday.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So you chose your Chinese as your major in university. Why? How do your family members react to that?
Yeah, so I just love learning languages and cultures, and I've always wanted to travel ever since I was really young. And then when I got a place at university, I was the first person in my family to go to university. So I thought, well, if I'm going to study languages and cultures at university, I should learn something I wouldn't have the chance to learn anywhere else. So I went to Durham University, and they offer a whole range of languages. And I looked into all of them, and Chinese really stood out to me just because China as a country had always fascinated me a little bit. And I thought, I'll give that a try and see how it goes. And then obviously absolutely loved it, still do. And that's why I'm teaching it now.
Do you think your students chose Chinese maybe out of the same reason as you did?
I think so, yeah. I think a lot of students choose it because it's different. Some students choose it because they want to challenge themselves. Some students choose it because they just really love Chinese culture, or they've already watched Chinese TV shows and they want to learn more. Some students choose it because obviously it is the most spoken language in the world, so they see it as an opportunity to get better jobs in the future and travel and get a higher salary and things like that. So lots of different reasons.
So as a Chinese teacher, what's the biggest challenge for you now? What do you think?
For me now, I suppose it's maintaining that motivation, because although Chinese is a fascinating, different, unique language to learn, and the culture's really, obviously, amazing. Some students do struggle with the challenge of it once they've started and they realise, actually, this is really difficult. Some of them do want to give up sometimes, and it's kind of trying to keep them motivated and remind them that it's okay to make mistakes, just keep going, you'll get there. And so keeping them motivated when it's challenging, I think, is probably my biggest challenge.
Wow, that sounds a lot of jobs. So here's another question from me. So when I was learning a second language, I always think, which is better? Should I learn from a native speaker, or should I learn from someone from the same cultural background as I am?
Yeah, I think both have their advantages. Obviously, with a native speaker, they're going to understand the language in much more detail. They're going to have a wider range of vocabulary to draw from. And yeah, they're like the real experts because they're the natives. But then I think a non-native teacher also have their benefits too, because they can understand what you're going through as a learner. So like when I was teaching English in Weifang, it really challenged me to really think about my own language, because even though they were only primary school students, but some of them would say, right, okay, well, if this is this, why is this that? And I'd be like, oh, that's a good question. I've never thought about it. Whereas, a Chinese person that had learned English might have been able to explain that in a much more relatable way. So, yeah, they both have their advantages.
Great.
Yeah.
I heard you are super, super good at Chinese. Well. So I prepared a little quiz about that.
Okay.
Let's see if you can do it. Right. So
I will 挑战自己.
Yes. So online Chinese could be quite different from textbook Chinese.
Yeah.
So have you heard people say 我睡了?
我睡了.
Yeah.
睡了. 睡了. Nope.
So in formal Chinese, you must have heard it. For example, 花瓶碎了.
I'm
not
sounding
sure.
really silly now.
No worries, no worries.
So, I feel like I've got lots to learn.
Yeah, no worries. In formal Chinese, we often say 花瓶碎了. Do you know 花瓶?
花瓶 is
a vase.
Yeah. Flower bottle.
Yes, sure. So 花瓶碎了 is the vase was broken.
Yes.
For example, 杯子碎了.
Yeah, the cup's broken.
Yes,
okay, yeah.
Great, smart.
Okay.
So those are an object.
So 我睡了.
我睡了, a person can be broken. So that's kind of mean heartbroken, actually.
Oh, it means heartbroken.
But it's not formal Chinese, it's online
informal.
Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah, spoken Chinese.
Yeah.
So people would say 我睡了 to me, I feel a little bit sad, I'm a little bit heartbroken.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I feel a little bit annoyed. I feel like I've been played. So for example, I bought a dress for 200 RMB, and then I found my friends bought the exact same dress for half the price.
Yeah.
So I would say 我睡了. I'm a little bit sad. I feel I've been played.
Yeah. This happened to one of my students yesterday, actually. We were at Changcheng and they were shopping and they saw chess sets and they were like, oh, I'm going to buy a chess set. So one of my students bought one and it started at like 680 yuan. And she got it down to 450. So she was like, oh, I got a good deal there, miss. And then another boy comes up and he says, well, I got it for 200. So she could have said, well, Suela.
Yeah, you could teach her that.
Yeah,
later.
I can teach her that next time.
Okay, have you ever accidentally said something totally inappropriate in Chinese without knowing it?
I mean, there's one story I sometimes tell my students from when I lived here, when I took my partner to Harbin, and we were in the taxi. And obviously in Harbin, their accent's a little bit different to, well, everywhere you go in China, people have a different accent. So in Harbin, there's lots of like R's and, and I was still, learning Chinese then. I didn't know as much as I know now, but I had to be brave and take the lead because my partner speaks no Chinese at all. So I was trying to say to the taxi driver that we wanted to go to number 90, like our hotel address was number 90. So I should have said 90号.
Oh.
But I think what I was actually saying was 90号. And so he kept thinking we were like in the right place already. So he kept stopping and I was like, we're not here. So I kept trying to say 90, but he kept thinking I was saying we're here. And yeah, it was a bit confusing.
Yeah, yes, sure. Since you mentioned that, I'm also wanting to ask you this. So in English-speaking countries, when you're trying to fall asleep, you probably count sheeps. Like because
count sheep, yeah.
is sounds close to sleep, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you know what we count in Chinese?
I don't actually. I mean, I would like to know though.
Yeah, we are told that we should count yang. Yang is sheep, right?
Yeah.
We should count that. But then people argue that English people do that.
Yeah.
We should count 水饺 because it sounds close to 水饺.
睡觉. That's good.
Yeah, you
I'll
mentioned
have to
that.
tell my students that.
Yeah, so we should say 一个水饺,两个水饺,三个水饺, something like that. Yeah.
That's really good. I'll teach them that tonight so they can actually go to sleep.
Have you encountered any culture shocks or funny stories?
I remember when I first moved here, though, obviously it takes a lot of getting used to, and there are lots of things that people do here that we just don't do in England, or don't have in England. So, like, for example, like 开水, like in England, everyone drinks cold water, or at least room temperature water, but you don't see many people drinking hot water. So when I first moved here, I thought that was strange.
A little bit culture shock?
Yeah, that was a bit of a culture shock. But now I love drinking 热水 and drink it at home too. And things like squat toilets.
Oh.
Like the toilets, they're very different as well. So when my students now have had that culture shock and we have to use squat toilets. Like, yes.
Okay, you know, Asian squats are quite popular on TikTok. So people are trying to see if they can do the Asian
Yeah, one of my students the other day said, "Miss, I've mastered the Asian squat." And she just squatted in front of me on the pavement, like, to show me. She was like, "Look, my heels are down." And I said, "Yes, well done."
So can you also do that?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Also mastered it.
Okay, so I think your learning method is pretty different from the students because you are an advanced learners. What's your usual way of learning Chinese?
So I think for me, it's more about connecting with native Chinese speakers, practicing with them, networking with them, like on WeChat or however. And then trying to, when I can, maybe keep up with my Chinese by maybe watching TV shows in Chinese or listening to music in Chinese or podcasts in Chinese as well. And then that also teaches me new little things every now and again as well.
Do you think when you're learning Chinese, teaching Chinese, you also adopt the Chinese way of thinking?
Yeah, sometimes. Even if I'm back home in England, there are certain situations where the Chinese word comes to my head first for what's happening. So, like, if something's a little bit frustrating, I'll be like,很麻烦. Like, you know, instead of the English, which, I don't know, might be like, that's annoying. I don't know, there's, certain words that come to me first in Chinese, because I've kind of got my Chinese mindset in those situations.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the biggest challenge when you learn the language?
Learning Chinese from an English learner's point of view, I think it's getting your head around the fact that the characters don't match, like, aren't necessarily phonetic in that, you know, you can look at them and instantly know how to read them. Yes. So it's almost like learning two languages because you're learning the characters and you're learning the pinyin. And I think that feels like a lot when you first start learning. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more used to it you become.
Yeah, that's great. And also, if your friends are coming to China, if they totally don't understand Chinese, do you think that'll be a problem?
It depends on where they're going.
Oh.
I think in big cities, they'd probably be okay, mostly. And in cities where there's lots of tourists, like Beijing and Shanghai, I think they'd probably be okay. I think it's much easier, though, if you can understand the language, especially in China, because there are lots of people that don't speak much English or speak a little bit of English but maybe aren't very confident with it. You know, it's very different to traveling to somewhere in Europe where lots of people speak English and you can speak English quite easily. So I'd say they should not expect to find it easy, but it's possible.
So you're on an 11-day summer camp, right?
Yes, 9 full days and then 2 like travel days.
So students are going to learn some Chinese here in Chinese universities.
Yeah.
And they are also going to get to see the landmarks of Beijing, right?
Yes, exactly. And we have 7 days where in the mornings we have Chinese lessons at the university with a Chinese teacher, which I think it's been really challenging for my students because I speak Chinese in the lessons and I try to speak as much Chinese as possible. But obviously, sometimes we speak a little bit of English, whereas our Chinese teacher at Beiyou is only speaking Chinese, and that's really challenging for them. But it's helping them to improve a lot really quickly. So we have 7 days where we have our language lessons, and then in the afternoons we do cultural activities, or mini excursions, and then 2 excursion days. So yesterday was an excursion day when we went to the Great Wall and Olympic Park and the acrobat show.
That sounds like a totally immersive experience.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Been to Changchun, you've been to many places, I think, during this trip.
We did our first traveling day, excursion day yesterday. And then before that, we've been mainly at the university doing language lessons and cultural lessons. So we've been to Changchun, Niaochao, and one of the theatres, is it Chaoyang Yuan?
A theatre in downtown.
Yeah, we went there as well to see.
Okay, so what's the most exciting thing you do in this trip?
So far, the most exciting thing we did. I mean, I love the Great Wall. I know that's a really typical response, but I think it was the first time I've been with students, and it was really nice to see them. And they were coming up to me, they were saying, "Miss, they've been to a wonder of the world." It was really nice to take them there. I also really enjoyed the acrobatics we watched yesterday. They were very impressive. They didn't look real because they were so good. And then I'm really excited to go to the Summer Palace and Temple of Heaven as well, which is happening tomorrow and the day after.
Wow, good.
Yeah.
So could you describe a little bit about the acrobatics for us?
Yeah. So we went to the theatre to watch them, and before we got to the show, while we were waiting in the lobby in the foyer, we saw some of the acrobats come out and take photos and things. So we saw some of their outfits before it started, and they were amazing. And then we went in, and it was a group of acrobats, and there were maybe 6 performances, but each one was really different. So they had group ones, individual ones. There was one who was juggling and tap dancing at the same time, which was incredible. There were people jumping through hoops, people jumping on springboards, people doing silk acrobatics in the air, people doing contortionists. There was a lot of different. Every performance was so different and so amazing. It was really good.
Great. Thank you so much, Fleming, for sharing your incredible journey with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm sure our listeners have found your story both relatable and encouraging.
I hope you've enjoyed Beth's stories as much as I have. Maybe her journey gave you a little extra motivation, whether you're learning Mandarin yourself or cheering someone else on. Also, have you ever visited China yourself? If so, what was your experience like? And if not, do you plan to come for a visit someday? We'd love to hear from you. And that brings us to the end of today's Takeaway Chinese. I'm Niu Niu. For more episodes of the show, you can visit our website at radio.cgtn.com and go to the column podcast. You can also listen to the show and read the script there. Find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Just search for Takeaway Chinese. Don't forget to leave your questions, comments, and ratings. 感谢收听，我们下次再见。